Welcome, you're watching Vox News, your daily news updates with Rita Kamkumo. Our headlines today: Ivorian President Alassane Ouattara declares 8 days of national mourning following the death of his Prime Minister Amadou Coulibaly. The RHDP party confirms that outgoing Ouattara might seek a third term after the sudden death of his presidential candidate, Coulibaly. 3 people died during protests over plans to name a disputed new chief of the Electoral Commission in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Our top story today: Ivory Coast President Alassane Ouattara decreed on Thursday 8 days of national mourning starting from this Friday until the 17th of July following the death of his Prime Minister and close ally Amadou Coulibaly. During this 8-day period, Ivorian flags will be flown at half-mast throughout the territory and in Ivory Coast embassies abroad. 61-year-old Coulibaly went to France for a medical check in early May and returned to Abidjan on the 2nd of July. He had resumed work shortly after his arrival before dying on Wednesday after attending his last cabinet meeting. His death took everyone by surprise, including Ivorian citizens.
I was shocked because he was back from his illness, so I thought he was doing well. So I was shocked to hear that he had passed away. At 1 p.m., while I was looking at the newspaper in an office, they showed the Council of Ministers. I got a good look at it. After arriving at work about 5 p.m., I received the message announcing the Prime Minister's death. I didn't think it was true because I saw him at 1 p.m. So I asked here and there, and we found out on social networks that he was dead.
Amadou was like our father, really. He did a lot for the Ivorian nation.
He was the RHDP candidate because he's a hard worker. He's the one we were waiting for to complete the work done by Alassane Ouattara, so that shocked us.
Amadou Coulibaly was Alassane Ouattara's RHDP party candidate for the presidential election scheduled for the 31st of October. In Ivory Coast, after the sudden death of their presidential candidate Amadou Coulibaly, senior officials of the RHDP party met on Thursday to discuss the way forward, which may include the candidacy of outgoing President Alassane Ouattara for a third term, as suggested by one of the governing party leaders.
The choice will be a choice to bring people together, a choice that does not divide. It will be a choice that will allow RHDP to maintain the existing cohesion, the existing vitality, the network as it has been done. Faced with a sense of responsibility, the president as a statesman he has no choice but to listen to the militant base, and the militant base will express itself. And it is this base that will tell him, that will give him his orientation. The final decision is up to him.
Et elle s'exprimera. Et c'est cette base-là qui lui dira et qui lui donnera son orientation. La dernière décision lui revient.
76-year-old Ouattara, in office since 2010 and re-elected in 2015, announced in March that he would not run again, investing the late Prime Minister Coulibaly as a candidate for the October presidential election. Although the Ivorian constitution limits the number of presidential terms to 2, President Ouattara and his supporters believe that the amendment of the constitution, which took place in 2016, gives him the legal right to run for a disputed third term, now that their frontrunner for the upcoming vote is gone. In the Democratic Republic of the Congo, thousands of angry protesters took to the streets of Kinshasa and Lubumbashi on Thursday to oppose plans to name a new chairman of the country's Electoral Commission.
This new head of the Electoral Commission has been invested with the mission of preparing the return of former President Kabila at the helm in 2023. In 2023, if we have the presidency, the pro-Kabila will still keep the parliamentary majority. In this way, they will make it difficult for the head of state in the coalition. That is why we have come to say no to Mr. Malonda.
The rally was announced earlier this week by President Félix Tshisekedi's Union for Democracy and Progress after the National Assembly, dominated by supporters of former President Joseph Kabila, decided to appoint Ronsard Malonda as chairman of the Electoral Commission, a man accused by the opposition, the Catholic Church and citizen movements of helping Kabila to rig past elections. The Congolese authorities reported on Thursday that 3 people died, including a police officer, as a result of violent clashes that erupted during the protests that were banned by the authorities due to COVID-19 safety measures. The decision to appoint disputed Malonda now rests with President Tshisekedi, who must validate this choice approved by the National Assembly. Malawi's newly invested President Lazarus Chakwera is coming under heavy criticism after he unveiled his cabinet. Malawi Human Rights Defenders Coalition expressed its concerns on Thursday after the new president announced a 31-member cabinet that includes 6 members of the same family. For instance, the new appointed labor and health ministers are brother and sister. Chakwera's former running mate in the 2019 elections, Sidik Maya, will be the new transport minister, while his wife will be the deputy minister for lands. Another perceived issue is regionalism. According to the human rights group, 70% of the ministers are from the central region, and Lilongwe alone, the president's hometown, has 9 ministers. The president's spokesman, Sean Kompandeni, said Chakwera will himself address those concerns soon. In Sudan, the Council of Ministers announced on Thursday Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok's decision to reshuffle his 18-member cabinet with immediate effect in response to street protests calling for economic and political reforms. 6 cabinet ministers resigned on Thursday, and the health minister was dismissed to allow a change in the government lineup, according to a statement from the Prime Minister's office. The statement comes after tens of thousands of Sudanese hit the streets for days demanding reforms promised under a September 2019 power-sharing deal between the Prime Minister and the military that helped remove former President Omar al-Bashir from office in April 2019. In his statement, Hamdok cited the need to assess the transitional government's performance to satisfy public opinion following calls for a government reshuffle. Senegalese President Macky Sall ended on Thursday his 14-day quarantine after being tested negative for coronavirus, according to the presidency. The president had been placed in isolation for 2 weeks on the 24th of June after he had been in contact with someone who had tested positive to COVID-19. In Kenya, schools have been asked to refund tuition fees to parents for the 2020 school calendar year as their reopening is delayed due to the coronavirus pandemic, according to local press. Local media, The Star, reported on Thursday, citing Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha, that the refund only applies to second and third term school fees, as the first term fees were already spent. Parents who had made the payments will get advance for next year when classes resume, according to the publication. This information comes after the Education Cabinet Secretary declared on Tuesday that the school year was considered lost due to COVID-19 restrictions and that primary and secondary pupils will return to class in January 2021. On the security front in Mali, a series of unsolved murders have been occurring in the city of Fana since 2018. Heads that seem to have been chopped off are regularly found by people in the area. The southern city is located far away from jihadist attacks hotspots, which makes local residents all the more fearful and suspicious. One of the residents recalls the day he discovered his brother's body decapitated on the 10th of June.
The crime happened at night, and we were informed in the morning. When we arrived at the scene, my brother was dead.
Since 2018, 8 Fana residents have been killed, beheaded.
8 people is a lot. This is downright a slaughterhouse. Fana has been transformed into a human abattoir. Everyone is afraid. Every time we send out our children, even when they go to school, we say to ourselves, are they going to come back? When people go to the field, we ask ourselves, are they going to come back? When people run their businesses, we wonder, are they going to come back to our family?
As the authorities are investigating these brutal killings, local residents who live in fear are losing patience.
We thought that the arrival of police officers would provide solutions, but despite these brigades, it continues. We are worried. Where people are killed, everyone is afraid.
From the last case that occurred, we are convinced that these crimes are not committed by one person. Several people are cooperating to commit these crimes.
Conviction que ce ne sont pas des crimes qu'une seule personne a commis. ce sont des crimes que plusieurs personnes coopèrent pour commettre.
According to local authorities, 11 people have been arrested and placed in detention as part of their investigations. On the 11th of June, Director General of the Police, Musa Aginfai, promised the creation of a police station in the remote city of Fana. Finally, in Nigeria, a wildlife conservation group released on Wednesday the first pictures of the world's rarest gorillas, together with several of their infants in the Mbe Mountains, easing fears that they will soon die out. Only 300 cross-river gorillas are reported to live in the wild, making them one of the most endangered subspecies. The Wildlife Conservation Society said these first known camera trap images of cross-river gorillas pictured with multiple infants raise hopes that they are actually reproducing. The head chief of one of the surrounding villages, Otto Gabriel Ocha, said these images show that local communities' conservation efforts are bearing fruits. The most endangered gorilla subspecies can only be found in an isolated region along the Nigeria-Cameroon border, according to the international non-governmental organization. That's it for today. Thank you for watching Vox News.